Lecture 7 of Jung's Vision Seminars begins with the patient's vision provided in Lecture 6, in which a ram is shot with the arrow of a native, who subsequently mounts a black horse, which he rides to a faraway black pond surrounded by black mountains. As the sun sets, he kneels by the pond and bows his head to the ground 3 times. Lecture 6 provided the theoretical background for the symbolism in this vision, concerned primarily with the patient's access to her feeling. Here, the interpretation begins with the dynamic nature of the dream, its fast pace and movement, representing a new energy and progress in the patient's psyche. At the same time, the patient is a witness to the vision, but not involved in it, and so the vision, Jung says, is preparatory for her later assimilation of a higher, or perhaps deeper, power that guides the drama of her life. The ram is first interpreted in connection with its symbolism in astrology, astrology being that system of unconscious projections onto the stars related to the changing of the earthly seasons. The ram is the symbol of the prominent constellation in spring, Aries, and so the image of the ram represents new growth and resurrection. This symbol, Jung says, is later ascribed to Christ, the Lamb of God, and sometimes the ram, and so the ram in the vision stands for the sacrifice god, who is born again as the first green shoot or first new leaf of the new season. Important to begin with is the idea of the autonomous growth of the green leaf, the spontaneous new growth of the plant, symbolic of the first new movement in the patient's unconscious. This new growth is checked or in conflict with the arrow of the native, representing the critical and repressed intellectual function of the patient, skeptical of this unconscious movement of the uncritical feeling function. The killing of an animal, Jung says, is associated in primitive cultures with the assimilation of its power, just as the love between 2 people causes each to inherit aspects of the other. So in this symbolism, the intellect assimilates the spontaneous movement of the feeling function, spontaneously making the patient's feeling concrete for the conscious mind. The assimilation of the energy of the ram by the native causes the native to mount and ride the black horse. The blackness of the horse has, Jung says, the connotation of evil, and also the concept of yin in Eastern traditions, an earthly, underground, or chthonic power. He provides a parallel to a dream of a divinity student who in the dream encounters a black sorcerer. This sorcerer, after being led to the tomb of a virgin woman, follows the hoofprints of a black horse across a desert to a lush green paradise. The interpretation there is that the evil and earthly powers of the unconscious lead ultimately to one's hidden feelings and the place of peace and rest. The same is true in the vision of the patient, in which the native rides the black horse to a great pond, where the horse dies and the man kneels before the water. Water is often symbolic of the vast source of life to be found in the unconscious. The interpretation of this vision concludes with Jung asking a question about the unfolding of this drama. Who, he asks, is the person who is having the vision? It seems to be some combination of the conscious and unconscious mind, but from where does the power of the vision come? What intelligence, which the patient does not perceive to be her own, is putting this patient on this new path towards her feeling? The implication is that the unconscious is some kind of autonomous person separate from the conscious mind.